What is up, guys, and welcome to a breakdown of the brand new Star Wars Battlefront 2 trailer, which has dropped just an hour or two ago. And I won't be going over any of the shots that we've already seen before, so this won't be every single shot in the trailer. This will merely be the ones that are new to us and that there is something interesting to talk about on. So we start off with Maz Kanata's castle on Takodana, and we get our first look at the Flame Trooper in action in the forests of Takodana, where Rey fought off stormtroopers in The Force Awakens. And now we see what I believe to be Iden Versio's TIE Fighter, elite TIE Fighter, from the story mode, and we get a few more cinematics of her story in the single player. And then we get on to Kylo Ren, again in Takodana, mowing down some rebels. And this is our first look in-game at Kylo Ren, and he looks amazing. His abilities, just like he looks like he choked someone, or that might be his freeze, his time freeze ability, or not time freeze, but his opponent's freeze ability, where his opponents are unable to move while he just attacks them. Then we get a look at the seamless cutscene to gameplay transition in the single player as Iden Versio hops out of her ship and gets immediately into combat gameplay. Now we see some offline gameplay where split screen, one character as Rey, another as a normal rebel, and the interesting thing is at the bottom of the screen you see that split screen is only for consoles. So anyone who buys it on PC, you're not going to get the same split screen experience as the console. Oh, and by the way, all of this is voiced over by John Boyega, who plays Finn, which is pretty awesome. But now we see basically why Battlefront 2 is going to be so much better than Battlefront 1, and that's depth. There are so many more locations in Battlefront 2. I think there's 18, and as you see here, the yellow bar on the end is the number. There's 3 in single player that you won't be able to play in multiplayer. Yes, so there's Sullust, Iden Versio's home planet, but there are so many planets that are in multiplayer that we can't really complain about a few being single player only. There are also 8 more heroes to play as, all those are as yet unannounced, and there are many, many more vehicles to use than in the original game, because that was very much narrowed down to ships in the air, so A-Wings and X-Wings and TIE Fighters and stuff, and then there were AT-STs, and that was about it, so there wasn't much depth there at all, but now we're getting to look at so many more things just to make the gameplay just better in every way. We also get a much more extensive look at the classes. As you see here, there's the Officers Specialist and the Flame Troopers, and also the Heavies. You get the First Order Heavy Trooper and a Heavy Droid. And then we get a more in-depth look, or we get images of each class. So you have obviously the Assault, which is very Vanguard, can do most things. You've got the Heavy with the shield and just the massive blaster to absorb and deal as much damage as possible. You've got the Specialist, who is usually the sniper, who's going to hang back and pick off kills, and then you've got the Officer, who's going to be just behind the front lines, assisting his squad in every way possible. We also get a look at more star cards, so as you'll see here, there's the Thermal Detonator and the Squad Shield returning. There seems to be a sort of mine, so maybe Laser Trip Mine from the DLC of Battlefront, and there's also the extremely rare star card of the minigun, which we saw in the E3 gameplay, with the clone troopers and the droids. Either side can wield it, just with a huge minigun for a limited amount of time. And speaking of DLC, the TL50 Heavy Repeater from the first game's DLC is returning along with its secondary fire ability, where you can effectively launch a grenade at someone which, on contact, will instantly kill them. And we return to the gameplay, which again seems to be at Maz Kanata's castle on Takodana. Or it could possibly be Yavin 4, but it definitely looks like Takodana. And we get another explanation of how the battle points work. And if you don't know it, basically by getting kills and helping your squad and completing objectives, you will accumulate these battle points, which you can then spend on upgraded classes or specialist classes like ships, but you could also get some specialists like a Wookiee Warrior, or the Flame Trooper, which we saw earlier, or even once you get 5,000 battle points, you can get heroes, which you'll see here, and you see Leia on the right hand side. This is the first look at Leia in Battlefront 2, The rest, I believe, except for Kylo, the rest we've seen in real gameplay at E3 and Gamescom and all of that. But here we see our first look at Kamino, as Boba Fett hovers above the platforms and shoots down on the rebels below. And here's where we get to look at the rest of our heroes in combat, as we see Rey against stormtroopers. You see Han Solo on what I believe could be Death Star 2. And you see Luke running through the forest of possibly Endor, again possibly could be Takodana, like most of the things that they seem to be showing off today. We also see the AT-ST stomping through, which is in the new, I think it's in the new game mode, which we'll see a bit later on. But hopefully they tightened up the AT-ST controls from the last game. That just wasn't very comfortable to play with. But we also see the ion torpedo, which charges up as you see the dial spin round in an anti-clockwise motion and takes out the AT-ST in one blow, although I believe in the game that AT-ST should already have been weakened and it should only take not even half of their health off. We also get a look at the specialist, the super battle droid, but this one seems like the jet trooper for the clone side, where you have a jump pack and you have a wrist rocket, which the droids will always have, a smart rocket for the jet trooper. And then we see some gameplay of Chewbacca, who seems to have an ion grenade possibly, and obviously his bowcaster. And now we see what could well be what breaks Battlefront 2 if EA doesn't handle it correctly, and that is the loot boxes. And as you see here, you'll open crates, you'll get about 5 discs, or it depends on which crate you buy, how many discs you get and what rarity they'll be. But you also see that you can craft and upgrade your star card like you could in the first Battlefront, although you could only upgrade them once. Whereas here, as you see, there are 4 levels of rarity, the bronze, silver, gold, and then I believe it's platinum. And now we see the multiplayer modes of Star Wars Battlefront 2, which is Starfighter and Galactic Assault, Blast, Strike, and then I believe Heroes and Villains. So you may see this and think, oh, it's not going to be as good as the first Battlefront, they have fewer game modes. But firstly, they have more maps, so there's going to be a lot more variety to each game that you play. But also, one of the problems with Battlefront was that everyone who played it, apart from, I know it was condensed on Walker Assault, apart from that, everyone was spread across so many game modes that it was just harder to find people to play with, and you didn't really get a concentration of anyone, again, except for Walker Assault, which was probably the best game mode there. So at least here, everyone will be able to get a taste of each different game mode that they are offering. Also, the offline experience, which can be played by yourself or split screen, is called Arcade. And this trailer finished off strong with several brand new screenshots or clips of gameplay, as we see first from the single player, but then we see an X-Wing fighting on what I believe is Jakku, so the Battle of Jakku, the same map, but hopefully a lot better than the one in Battlefront 1, and hopefully we'll actually get to see the interior of the crashed Star Destroyer, which will be awesome. But then we see Kamino, and what I'm going to show you here is the incredible lighting effects there seems to be, because the first one you'll see here seems to be a very, almost too bright for Kamino, but then in the next one you see that it was simply a flash of lightning, and that suddenly it's descended into complete darkness, and so this could be really dynamic weather, or not dynamic, but it will bring a new dimension to the gameplay, and that it will be different almost every time you play it, or at least there'll be some variability to what you play. And finally, we get a reminder that upon the release of Star Wars The Last Jedi, the first season of free content for Battlefront 2 will be released, which includes Finn and Captain Phasma as the 2 new heroes. We'll also, hopefully, get new guns and maybe new maps from The Last Jedi. And yeah, that is all for the video today. That is all of the new things in the trailer. So if you're excited for Battlefront 2, hit the like button, subscribe, because we will be covering Battlefront 2 on this channel whenever something new comes out. But that is all, so thank you for watching.